Hey, what is going on, everyone? In today's video, we're gonna be taking a little bit of a look at 2021 in review. And what I mean by that is we're gonna go over two of the bigger blog posts of the year from Marvel Strike Force, including the 2021 first half preview and the 2021 second half preview, and we're going to take a look at the roadmaps and whether or not any of the promises were fulfilled by Scopely Boundless, how many of them we could tick off, and what is still left kind of to do, or did we get all of the things that they said they were going to do. Now, I know that there's a lot of things that people still wanted that weren't included in a lot of these things, so we might talk about that towards the end of the video, but I just want to go through this anyways with you all once again, in case you guys haven't seen this, and kind of see whether or not we are where we should be. So, the first half preview, and just to put into context, this was on February the 26th of this year, and this came at a very interesting time. So historically, this came when things were kicked up regarding sort of what they call the Fix MSF movement, or the Fix MSF 2.0. So there was a lot of people who were unhappy about how things were going. Honestly, I kind of forget exactly why this was, but there was something that really kicked off, I think, towards the beginning of the year that people were really, really unhappy with. And that's what kind of got this to come out. And then shortly thereafter, about 2 weeks later, probably by mid-March, there was the, I forget which patch number again, but it's the Silver Surfer patch, and that came out. So it basically came out as a result of a lot of the unhappiness that was going around in Marvel Strike Force at the time, including the release of Silver Surfer and this blog. So just to put this into context, we're going to start by going through some of the things that they promised us and whether or not we have that now. So, new features costumes, because you can see that up above here. We did get costumes, right? So, they talked about that, and we do actually have all of these costumes. Actually, you know what? Nope. That's not the Cyclops costume that we got, was it? We have like a blue version now. I don't have that up. I don't have the game running right now. But this was not the exact the Cyclops X-Men costume that we got. So I wonder what this was supposed to be. Leave a comment down below if you know like what this was designed for, because the one that we have in game now is not exactly the same. Is this one of his original Golden Age costumes? I'm not really sure. Either way, we got the Captain Marvel binary, and we did get the Shadowland Daredevil costume at some point as well. So they talk about that, and as far as we're at right now with costumes, they are not currently required for anything. Now, I am kind of concerned that in the near future, I think that we may get to a point where we have enough costumes in the game now for characters that they might start requiring it to be used. Now, they haven't said that they're going to do that, but from a more not a practical standpoint, but I just have this, I'm cautious about whether or not they will do that. It might not change the character in any major way. It might not, change their stats or their traits or anything like that. But I just have this strange feeling in the deep pit of my stomach that they might actually require you to either have costumes more generally, and that could be on anyone, or they might require you to have it on specific characters. And I guess the point is for that, hopefully, if they do that, or if they do this at all, that those ones that they require or request you to have, are farmable, and you can buy them in the costume store, when you have the credits available. But as of right now, that's not the case. But do think that they might do that down the line, because I would not put anything past them. I just wanted to say that there. So we'll move on. ISO 8 Tier 2, we do have that. That is going to be the blue ISO. So they talked about that. They didn't really have much to talk about at this time at the beginning of the year. But, it did end up coming out. We got the Tier 2 blue crystals, and that came out in August or September. I think it was before Doom 2, because it was when we had Doom 1. So maybe this was sooner. I forget the exact release date of Doom 1. It wasn't First Strike. No, it was properly Doom 1, not the First Strike of Doom 1. I don't remember what date that was. That must have been in the summer then, I would think, because Doom 2 was in October. Right, with the Weapon X patch. So we did get this, yes, and I don't know, how are people feeling about this? I mean, obviously now Blue ISO is required for things like Doom 2. However, I think it's quite, it's okay. For me, I personally think it's okay. I don't think that Blue 1 is a very hard requirement for entering Doom 2. It's pretty reasonable, and you can get that pretty easily, I think, through maybe like a month or two of Doom 1, so it's not really all that damaging to your progress. That being said, they currently don't require you to have blue ISOs for anything major at the moment beyond Doom 2. I was actually a little bit surprised that they didn't require you to have this for Dark Dimension 5. Very surprised they didn't require you to have like blue ISO 3 characters at the bare minimum, or even higher. I know it doesn't exist yet, but I'm surprised that they didn't require this for Dark Dimension 5. I think that they'll be moving this forward as requiring it for other content, but I do hope that when they do, that it's kind of incremental and it's not too damaging on the player base to do this, especially if you're having to, if the requirements require you to like non-Doom Raid characters, you know, if you're having to put blue ISOs into, you know, non-Doom Raid characters, some other characters you might not want to do, hopefully the requirement isn't too high to do that. The Strike Pass. So this came out specifically with Silver Surfer, as you guys know, and since then it's been a staple with us every single month, sometimes with new characters, sometimes not. We had Silver Surfer, and he was a 1 strike pass. We had Polaris, that was 2 strike passes. And we had Capstan, that was 2 strike passes. And I think since we had Cloak and Dagger as well. And then we had a couple of like random ones. I think we had Misty Knight, didn't we, in one, and things like that. So this has been a staple in the game so far since it's been released. It's essentially a better version, in my opinion, than the Battle Pass. I think if you're going to spend any money at all on this game, then the Strike Pass is actually a better value than the Battle Pass. That's it. I know the Battle Pass has teal geared now, but for the $20, I think you're probably still getting more out of the Strike Pass than you would out of the RTA Pass. But yeah, I mean, a lot of them have exclusive characters, not all of them, but that is more likely down the line. So that's a mainstay, I guess, and we have that. Improvement, Save Squad tabs. Now, this took a little while to roll out. I forget exactly which patch this came out in. There were some issues from time to time on the Save Squad tabs, but we did eventually get this. I mean, I think this might have been about 6 months, maybe after 5-6 months after this post, but it did take a little while, but we do have it now, and that's thankful. I'm thankful for that. Raid Season Milestone Rewards. This was transformed. I remember originally it capped out at like, what? It was like something dumb. Like 1.4 million, and you could finish this like that, you know, like in just like a day or two, you know, if you were doing Ultimate 7.5. It was nuts. And so they do have a much larger Raid Season Milestone, which reflects like Doom Raid, even as high as Doom Raid 2. I'm actually clearing all of it except for the last 2 milestones, I think. So that's good. I'm glad that they really made this better, and of course when Silver Surfer went into the Raid Season milestones, they kind of implemented in that. They tailored it a little bit because at first it was kind of shit and only people at like the top end of the Raid Season milestone would even get shards for Silver Surfer, but they kind of like they went backwards and they put more shards on some of the earlier milestones, which was nice. So I think it's in a good spot right now. Raid key tracking, this is still kind of awkward because it really depends on where your members live. Because based on your daily reset is kind of how it tracks raid keys, and it's not great. I think they still need to kind of improve the functionality of these things for captains and leaders. I'm not sure if we're really where we should be with a lot of alliance-based settings. If there's any specific like quality of life improvements you think that they need for alliances, aside from recruiting, they really need to, you know, improve the way recruiting is done in this game, because that's such an annoying pain in the ass, even for me. Like, I really don't like doing that. Let me know in the comments down below what kind of things that you think should be recommended. Maybe I'll throw some suggestions out in the Envoy channel later on. Red Stars for Ultron. This did come, although this was not as impactful as I thought it would be. There were a couple of people, and even people I talk to regularly, that were pushing Red Stars for Ultron, and honestly, I do not think this was ever personally worth it. That being said, I did like the dark, and I kind of do like the dark credit function, but instead of putting Red Stars in for Ultron, I ended up saving up all the dark credits that I had, and I put it towards Red Stars for Dr. Doom, which is what I currently did, and I think that was much more worth it long term. You know, at some point we'll eventually get that for Dormammu in like a year's time or things like that, and we might get more red stars for Doom, you know, up to 7 red. Currently I think we only have 5, right? I don't think it goes higher than 5. But yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how they kind of use and utilize the dark credit functionality. API, this is nowhere, no, this is not happening. So I don't know how far off this is, and this isn't really a question for me. I think this is probably more of a question now for the MSF.GG crew, because they're now being paid by Scopely Boundless, and so maybe this might get pushed forward a little bit quicker because of, you know, that sort of crossover now. But this is mainly for, you know, I'm not an expert at this kind of stuff. So I'm to be honest, I'm not really the best person to talk about API stuff. But yeah, I think this is more likely to come down the line. This still hasn't happened yet, though. Under review, Alliance War based stuff. So recently we have had improvements, adjustments to Alliance War. We have now gone from 12 attacks to 14 attacks, or whatever it is. You start with 4 now, and instead of 2, and you have 10 teams on the defense. So there's more attacks, more defenses, and they just added based on how many teams are in the game. So is it an improvement overall? I honestly, I'm not sure, because I still play Alliance War exactly the same as I did before. Nothing has really changed there. I kind of look at it the exact same way as I did before, that you're kind of pushed to a 50% win ratio anyways, and that's that. Real-time arena, fuck. Yeah, sorry, I had to swear there, because this has just been a load of shit. Real-time arena just got every month. They tried to make adjustments, but really it never really hit the mark. A lot of us just try to, think that it doesn't even exist anymore. So it is what it is. Real-time arena is a hot mess, but, at least you can get some points via blitzing, so you don't actually have to do RTA, and now it has teal gear, and I guess that's that, really. So let's move on to the second half. This is where Absolute Carnage was kind of previewed here, and this was August the 3rd, so March, April, May, June, July. Yeah, so roughly basically like 5.5 months on, I guess, from the previous one. So they talk about this thing called the player journey, and honestly, this didn't make a lot of sense. But this is basically, I guess, the way up to level 85. So, regards to this, what they did improve is they did... is this where they talk about it here? I don't know. But they added XP into the ISO 8 campaign chapter, and ISO 8 unlocks at, level 50 or 55. So this really did improve the amount of player XP that you get all the way up once you unlock ISO 8, because now you're getting it from your ISO 8 energy, which is a significant improvement. I did do a video on this when it first happened, how much of a percentage it would make a difference, and it was quite a bit. It was something like a 40-50% improvement in your total, the time to level up. It was a lot quicker now than it was before. So I don't know if this was actually specifically mentioned here or not. They talk about, so Tier 2 ISO must have come out in the summer, because it's already been out as of this post here, for Doom Raid 1. So I guess it was sometime in July, probably. The Orange Gear Economy, now this was a bit of a pain in the ass. They talk about Gear Tier 16 here, which just came out with the Weapon X patch and Doom Raid 2. So that's actually fairly recent. Doom Raid 2 again as well, they kind of went hand in hand. And then Dark Dimension 5 with Dormammu, this happened also later on, that patch. So we know that less than 100 people have even entered to Dark Dimension 5. I haven't really kept up with this. I don't know how many people have actually cleared Dark Dimension 5 still, even one run, but I know that there's less than 100 people even in it, I'm pretty sure. And Teal Gear is something that we'll continue to talk about, and I'm going to be doing monthly updates in terms of Teal Gear and what more you should expect and kind of where your progress is at, because mine is not moving very quickly. In terms of Orange Gear, I do want to say something really quickly, is that we still don't have farmable Orange Gear Superior Uniques. G13 uniques, such as Superior Miasma, are still not farmable. The best way, I guess, to get them is randomly through the Orange Elite Orb, or buying them directly in the store and War Store. Those are the only places you can do it. We now have farmability of G14 and 15 minis in Doom War 3 and 4. They updated that when they released Doom War 4, sorry, I got that a little bit confused. And honestly, that part was a little bit of a surprise. Nobody actually even talked about Doom War Chapter 4 before it came out. Nobody expected it to happen, and yet it did, which is nice, of course, and it allows us to farm Teal Gear, which is also great, and that's nice too, but it wasn't expected, and we still can't farm G13 Superior Unique, so that's a bit of a problem. Improvements. They talk once again about the Alliance War, so between the first post and the second post, it still hadn't been done, really, or just they're still talking about it. So I don't remember when this went live. I don't remember which patch. Was this also the Weapon X patch, or was this the one before the Weapon X patch? I honestly can't remember. I think it was the Weapon X patch. In September, maybe, or whenever that came, October, I don't remember anymore. Real-time arena, they're still talking about real-time arena, which is the funny thing here. They changed the way that the bands work. They rotated it a lot faster than before, but it's still a hot, steaming pile of crap, and at some point they just, decide to give you points via blitzing, which I don't even think was mentioned here. It wasn't until later that they said, fuck it, and then they finally decided to do that, just to make it easier on people to clear RTA, because it was a hot steaming pile of mess. And now like I have a hard time grinding out RTA even on auto unless the Eternals are available. If I don't get both Eternals, then it's just like not worth my time, and I can't be fucked to do it. You know, it's just that big of a pain in the ass. We all know we hate RTA, and it just never really hit the mark. So the economy, they did improve the amount of gold that came our way, and so that was good, but it's still not enough. I don't know if they talk about it specifically here or if it was a different post, but they did actually add gold to the game, I think also in August or September, and that came through daily objectives and other ways of war as well. Some other injections into the gold. They improved the payday event for gold as well, but really it still isn't enough, because when level 85 hit, it just, you know, that your gold kind of went out the window, because then you had to level up the characters from level to 80 to 85, the characters that you already had. So a lot of the gold that you would have had just kind of went into this new level cap now, so that's a bit of a pain in the ass as well. Quality of life improvements. Save squads were lowered in terms of the levels available, I think, and so that was nice for like my baby account, but otherwise didn't really have a huge impact, because you got like 15 slots at 40 and then nothing until 71 plus. Like, it just did not make a lot of sense to me. But hey, yeah, I don't make decisions in this game. Auto basic combat that came to the game, that's okay. I actually don't use it as frequently as maybe some other people do. Sort by sorting stuff, more API features that they never really fucking did anything about. More costumes. Absolute Carnage and Taskmaster. Interestingly, Taskmaster was made available, I guess, after the movie in the RTA pass. I think the current RTA pass, isn't it? Or sorry, the most recent RTA pass. Whatever one just passed, I think, is where it was. And Absolute Carnage had a bit of a milestone event in early 22. So this is kind of interesting. So this is where they gave us the first kind of look on Grand Tournament. And since then, you know, there was the end of year blog post that kind of didn't really tell us much more. It gave us some photos, I suppose, but it didn't really say. We actually had more more information about Grand Tournament in this post than we did in the end of year post, but I don't know when. And this is, we usually keep the scopes of these preview limited to 6 months ahead. But there's something, yeah, so it doesn't really say when we're expected to get this. I don't know when in 2022 we're expecting to see the Grand Tournament. You know, we might see game modes like the Avengers Tower that we've been talking about well before Grand Tournament. It's really hard to say, you know, what's going to happen here. But yeah, it's essentially single player war, I think, is what Grand Tournament's going to be. I've talked about this actually with Mobile Gamer in one of our recent collaborations, so check that out on my channel if you haven't already. We talk specifically about the new game modes coming to the game and how we feel about that. And in summary, well, what do they say here? So yeah, they talk about the blogs coming every Friday. Of course, we know that, and that's really about it. So in terms of what is missing, you know, what are the kind of the things that, you know, we kind of know based on the end of the year post, some things that are coming our way, you know, for 2022. And that includes, you know, Avengers Tower, and I guess Grand Tournament at some point. And then we have the Pocket Dimensions, aka the more recent Resolute tag. These are kind of some of the things that we are going to be getting in, I would assume, early or first quarter 2022. In the case of Pocket Dimensions, we have a date roughly for that. And for Avengers Tower, we don't have a date for this, but I assume that's probably on the horizon as well. But I think there's other things that this game needs, things like more gold injection. Believe it or not, you know, I'm normally, you know, I'm quite the numbers guy. I think there's a little bit more of gold that needs to come to the game. I think training modules might still be a little bit of an issue. There might be like resource-based stuff. I realize, and I know fully well that this is a resource management game, but I think that there is room for a little bit of improvement than what we have already. I think as far as quality of life adjustments, I would like to see more alliance-based support, namely recruiting things. I think that's a real pain in the ass still for a lot of alliances. There's a few other, you know, topics that I wish to talk about, but I don't really have a whole lot of time to do that. So I would really encourage people to let me know in the comments down below if there's any features that you'd really like to see in, you know, 2022, some things that you really think, you know, should be in the game that we don't have, or some things we need to really consider. And, you know, maybe if these are really popular topics that I'll talk about in a different video, or I'll raise to the Envoy channel, things like this that, you know, I can really share with other people to kind of get an idea of what other people are thinking about, because there's a lot of people that play this game. So I think it's really important to really get a better idea of, you know, the entire community and sort of what things are really important for you guys. So yeah, let me know all that in the comments down below. That's going to be the end of this video. And of course, until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.